This is Sara with Posh Pooch Designs, and today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make a mug cozy that looks like a Chihuahua. Nice stand-up ears, snout, little Chihuahua eyes, and of course this style is based off my logo for Posh Pooch Designs. Now I have made it in these bright colors. You can make it any colors that you want to. It's a lot of fun, and this is a free pattern on my blog. Just click that link that's down in the notes underneath the video, and it will take you to the free written out pattern on my blog. So let's make a Chihuahua cozy. What you're going to need for our project today is 2 colors of worsted weight number 4 yarn. We're going to be using Red Heart with Love, and I really like using it for this project. You can use a cotton if you want to, or any worsted weight number 4 acrylic yarns. And we're using this lavender and this pretty coral. You're going to need just a small amount of black for stitching the eyes and the mouth. And then you're also going to need a tiny bit of stuffing. You can use stuffing, or you can use polyester fiber fill, or a little bit of leftover yarn that you have, just for the snout of the front of the cozy. You'll need a needle for weaving in your ends, and you'll need a button, and it can be a button that is 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Those will work just fine, and you'll need a pair of scissors. Now we are going to be stitching with our H hook today, and this is a 5mm hook. This one's my favorite purple one. And that's what you're going to need for our project today. We're going to be stitching the body of the mug cozy first. So we're going to start with our main color, and I'm using this coral. Going to make a slip knot. And then I'm going to chain 31 chains. I chained 31 chains. And to begin our first row of stitches, we're going to begin stitching in the 2nd chain from the hook. Here's your first chain, and here's your 2nd chain. Our first stitch is going to be a single crochet. So we'll go in the chain, we'll pull up a loop, we'll yarn over, we'll go in both loops. The next stitch is going to be a double crochet. So we'll yarn over, go in the next chain, pull up a loop. You'll have those 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the last 2. And the way our beginning row will work is we'll do a single crochet, then a double, a single crochet, then a double, all the way across, and we'll have a total of 30 stitches because we began stitching in the 2nd chain from the hook. So let's stitch a single crochet in the next stitch, and then we'll stitch a double crochet in the next stitch. Single crochet in the next stitch, double crochet in the next stitch. And we'll repeat this all across our row. And you can see it makes a nice textured stitch. We'll continue this all across our row, single, double, single, double, single, double, all the way across for 30 stitches total. This is how your first row should look. And you can see that fun texture stitch in there. Now your last stitch should be a double crochet. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn. And the way this row works and all the rest of the rows that we're going to stitch on this portion, you're going to place one single crochet in that first double crochet. Then you'll place a double crochet in this first single crochet. And basically what you're doing is placing single crochets in the double crochets and double crochets in the single crochets. And it'll work it all the way across. Double crochet. There we go. Then single crochet, just like we did on the previous row. Single crochet in the double crochet and double crochet in the single crochet. And we're alternating single and double just like we did on the previous row. This is the way that your second row should look. And the texture stitch is so pretty on this. I just really love it. So we're going to chain one and we're going to turn. And we're going to repeat what we just did for a total of 7 rows. We've done 2. And so our first stitch here was a double crochet. So we're going to place a single crochet in that first stitch. You can see that the next stitch is a single, so we'll place a double crochet. And that's the way all the rows will work. Single, double, single, double, single, double on every row for a total of 7 rows. You work them exactly the same. Chain one, turn, single, double all the way across, chain one, turn. And we'll do this for a total of 7 rows. So this is how your mug cozy should look after 7 rows. And you can see, again, that texture stitch is just lovely. So now we're going to put a simple trim. And we're just going to put 3 single crochets in the corner, single crochet down, 3 single crochets in the corner, single crochet across, and repeat till we come back around. So let's start in this first corner, and we're going to put 3 single crochets. By putting 3 single crochets in the corner, it helps the corners ease around nicely. So there's our 3 single crochets. And now what we're going to do is basically we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in the end of each row. And you may have to add more or less depending how closely that you stitch. Now it's best to stitch in stitches if at all possible. But if you don't have a stitch or can't get your hook in there, of course you can stitch in one of the holes between the stitches. But it's best to try to go in a stitch to get a nice uniform look. So I've stitched down the side and I put 3 single crochets in this corner, and now I'm working down the bottom of my cozy and just putting 1 single crochet in each of those chains, because this is where our beginning chain is, where we made our first stitches. And just single crochet down the side, I should say down the bottom of our cozy till we reach the next corner. You can see that gives it a nice edge. We'll continue this around the next corner, up the side, and then across the top and join to this first single crochet. I did the trim all the way around, placing 2 single crochets in each of the corners. I joined to the top of that first single crochet, and I'm going to tie off. I'm going to pull it to the back, pull that loop to the back, and then pull that string off, and that just gives you a nice finished edge there in the front. And we'll take a minute and weave these ends in, but this is the way that the body portion of your cozy should look. Now, if you want it to be longer this way, you can add as many rows as you would like. The next thing we're going to do is make the tab for the button. To make the button tab, we're going to begin with a slip knot, and then we're going to chain 9. Some more yarn here. All right. Then we're going to turn and place a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So there's the first chain. We'll go right in that next chain and place a single crochet. And then we'll place a single crochet in each chain across, and this will give us 8 single crochets because we began in the second chain from the hook. There we go. There's our 8 single crochets. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn. We chained 1 and turned, and we're going to place 1 single crochet in the first 5 single crochets. We're going to chain 2. We're going to skip the next 2 single crochets and place 1 single crochet in the last single crochet. That gives us our buttonhole. All right, so we're going to chain 1 and turn. We're going to place 1 single crochet in that first single crochet. We're going to place 2 single crochets in this chain 2 space. That's our buttonhole. And then we'll place 1 single crochet in the last 5 single crochets. And this is our button tab. We've made a buttonhole for our button, and now we need to sew this on to our mug cozy. So let's cut this off, giving ourselves a little bit of yarn to sew with, and tie off. To sew our button tab onto our cozy, thread one of the ends, and I fold it in half like this to find the center. There's my center. Place my cozy on. I'm going to turn it flat because we're going to stitch across there. And so I'm just going to stitch across, making sure I go through both thicknesses, because if our button cozy tab comes off, our cozy won't stay on our cup. All right, and what I do, I sew that way, and then I take the other one and I just sew across the other way just to give it a nice good stitch on, and then I'll just weave that end in. Clip it off and clip off the other side. Go in there. There we go. And go ahead and weave that one in. There we go. And here's our button tab. Now I'm not going to sew my button on just yet. I'm going to make the ears and the snout and put the front of the face together. But this makes a nice basic cozy for just about any size cup, just by putting the placement of the button It can fit just about any size, coffee cup or mug. All right, let's get the Chihuahua ears and the face done. To make the ears, you're going to make a pink one for the inside and a purple one for the back, and then we're going to stitch them together. And this is one I already have done for you. And I've already made the pink one because we do them exactly the same. You're going to need 2 for the inside and 2 for the outside. All right, so there we go. We're going to begin with a slip knot, and we're going to chain 9. After you've chained your 9, we're going to begin with a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. Here's our first single crochet, and we need to go in the next chain and place a single crochet, and then we'll stitch a single crochet in the next stitch. We're going to place a half double crochet in the next 2 chains. You yarn over, go in the chain and pull up a loop, yarn over and go through all 3 loops, and we'll do that again, one in the next chain. The next chain we're going to place a double crochet. So yarn over, go in the chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. The next 2 chains we're going to place a half double crochet. And that leaves us to our last chain. In this last chain, we're going to place 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Some more yarn here. And now we're going to turn our work, and we're going to stitch down the back side or the other side of the chain. Our next stitch is going to be where we did the last half double crochet, and we're going to stitch a half double crochet in that chain. We'll stitch another half double crochet in the next chain. Then we're going to stitch a double crochet in the next chain, a half double crochet in the next chain, a half double crochet in the next chain, and then 1 single crochet, and then end in the last chain, whoops, there we go, with a single crochet. So we start with 2 single crochets, 2 half double crochets, and then a double, 2 half double crochets, and then 3 single crochets at the top of our ear. And then we're reversing what we did over here. 2 half double crochets, a double crochet, 2 half double crochets, and we end with 2 single crochets. Now, when we did the pink one, we tied off and we weaved in our ends. When we're doing the purple or whatever color you choose for your back, you need to make sure your string's not too long for where we started, because we're going to tuck that in. So place the back sides of the 2 ears together. The pink is your inside and the purple is the outside. Okay. We're going to go in the first single crochet here and the first single crochet here. Grab that loop and pull it through. Okay, and then we just do a chain 1. And now we're going to stitch going all the way to the top and the bottom, connecting the front and the back together and making this nice trim around the edge, working single crochets of our ear. Now this makes a nice stiff ear that stands up pretty good. I have found after it's gone through the laundry, sometimes they get a little more droopy. But by double thicking it like this, with 2 layers, it makes a nice stiff ear. All right. There we go. Now when we get to the top of those center single crochets, we're going to stitch 3 single crochets. There we go. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And there's our string we tucked in. And then we're going to repeat. We're going to just go down the side, stitching in each of the stitches down the side, just easing them together. Oops, there we go. Making sure I get in each one. All right, so now I'm to the bottom. We've stitched up, top of the ear, and now we're stitching down, and we're going to stitch across. So I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to put a stitch right in that side of that last stitch that I made, make a single crochet. Then we're going to go in the pink and go through both sides, stitch a single crochet, go in the pink and the purple again, stitch a single crochet, and then in that first joining single crochet, we'll make a single crochet. And then we're going to cut, leaving ourselves enough to be able to sew those on. And that's your ear. I like to stitch these a little tighter so they're nice and snug, and it gives them a little bit of stiffness so that they will stand up. So there's the ears, and next we're going to do the snout. I'm going to make the tip of my nose in purple. If you want, you can use a brown or a black or whatever color that you desire. We're going to chain 3, so I'm making my slip knot. 1, 2, and 3. And in this second chain from the hook, we're going to stitch 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. I'll move that tail over out of the way. 4, 5, and 6. And then we're going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch. And then we're going to cut our string. Now, this is the tip of the nose, and we're going to change colors to do the snout portion. So we're just going to join in our new color, snug those down. There's our little circle. And what we're going to do in each of those single crochets that we made, we're going to stitch 2 single crochets. So we're going to go from having 6 single crochets to 12. There's 9 and, oops, get in there, 10, my string out of the way, and here's my last 2, 1 and 2. I'm going to join to my first single crochet and chain 1. And it looks like this. Now we're not going to do any increasing anymore. We're just going to place 1 single crochet in each single crochet around. And you'll see the snout starting to form because it's going to start curling up immediately on the sides because we're not increasing anymore. There we go. Okay, and then we're going, oh, I need one more. Gotta have 12. And now we're going to join to the top of that first single crochet and chain 1. Now at this point, I'm going to turn it and flip it out because there's the tip of your nose and here's your snout starting to form. We're going to repeat, placing 1 single crochet in each single crochet around for 4 more rows. So we're just going to place 1 single crochet in each of the 12 single crochets, join and chain 1. The chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So for 5 more rows, 1 single crochet in each single crochet around, join and chain 1. Then I'll show you how to stuff it and attach it to your Chihuahua cozy. To finish up our cozy, we need to attach the snout and the ears and of course the button and get the face all done. So let's start with the ears, and what I do is I fold it in half and I find where my center is just so that I can center those ears. And just decide where I want them. I like it to be in the center so that when you snap the cozy on the back, it can be seen. All right, so let's take our needle and stitch on those ears. Now you can see I've got them facing forward because we want them to stand up. And I just stitch them on by going through both thicknesses with that piece of yarn that I left when I tied off. Just doing whip stitches like that. And then of course go back and forth and weave in your end. That's how you attach the ears. We've got the ears on, so now we need to do the snout. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a little piece of this. See, it takes just a tiny, tiny bit, just enough to make it stand out. Now I went ahead and took a minute and weaved in the ends for the purple and pink where they were attached together. It just took a second, and then I'm just going to stuff just a little bit. It takes very little. Just like I said, enough to make it so that it stands up. All right, we're going to take that thread that we tied off with, and I actually like to turn it so that's at the bottom. I'm going to center it about right here. I like it a little bit to the top but not too far, and I usually just kind of bend it down like that and attach it at the bottom, and that kind of gives me the center of where I'm starting and a placement, because basically you're going to do whip stitches on this as well. Now you can pin it if it would make it easier, and you're just going to go in the cozy and the nose and whip stitch around the edges. And I usually go around a couple times until I'm comfortable with where it's sitting. I'll do it a little bit looser just so I can make sure it's where I want it to be, because you can kind of maneuver it and change it around a little. So I'm just sort of doing some quick whip stitches for placement. And then I'll look at it and say, is that where I want it? Does it look good to me? And I like where this one is at. And so then I'll go around and make a lot closer stitches that are going to hold the nose in place. Just whip stitching around the bottom. Now you could do the nose the opposite color like I did on the other one if you want to. And you know what? You could make this even in the same colors as your dog so that it matches your puppy. And the thing is, the ears can be folded down to make it look like a different type of dog. It's totally up to you what you want to do with this. You could even put cat ears on it and make it into a kitty cat. It's just a good basic cozy pattern. All right, so I've got it all attached. I'm going to go into the back and do a couple of stitches to make sure it's weaved in snugly, because I do not want my snout to come off. I go one way, then I go back the other, making sure I go through stitches. Give it a good snug pull, and there we go. Now we need to make the eyes, and I'm going to use this black, and we're just going to make a couple of French knots. So I'm going to thread this onto my needle, and for the Chihuahua I want the eyes to be nice and close, so I'm going to put them right to the side of the snout. I'll pull this up, make sure I leave a little bit of yarn, and I always make a stitch like this. It just holds it in place. And the way I do this is I wrap the yarn around my needle 4 times loosely, and then I go right in where I made that stitch. Just like that, and just gently ease it. There we go, got caught on there. Down, but don't pull too hard where it pulls through. There we go. And I'll go to the back and I'll make a stitch just so I know that's going to stay put. And then I'll do the other eye. Just eyeballing it, try to get it in the same place. Now it's a good idea to make sure you're in a stitch, not a hole. And then I'll make that little stitch that I make. Wrapping gently, loosely, 4 wraps on my needle. Go right in that stitch. Gently easing it through. I like the way the eyes look. I'm going to go to the back and I usually make, 1 or 2 just to make sure it's going to stay put. So there's my eyes. Now, if you prefer, you can use little buttons. Work just fine as long as you're not giving it to a child to play with, that they can pop those buttons off. And then the last thing we're going to do on this portion is we're going to take our needle and shove it up into the snout right at the bottom of the nose. We're just going to make the mouth. Just gently pull that up. We're going to stitch about halfway down and go over to the right and just add a little smile. And sometimes if you can make a straight stitch, I like to just make a second stitch. And you're going through that stuffing, so it might be a little hard, but that makes the smile stay put. And we're going to go in, shove it out the back, and there's your little smile. And now we're going to go to the back. And I'm going to move over here where I just started. There we go. I'm going to pull this out, and I'm actually going to tie a couple knots. If you're worried that your knot's going to come out, use a little fray check or fabric glue. But I've never had one come out so far. All right, last thing we need to do is add the button. So to know where to add the button, we're going to just use a basic coffee cup. Here's the front of our cup. We're going to go to the back and just roll it over, shove the tab through, pull this up. We want it to be on there nice and snug so it doesn't fall off. So there's my placement. I'm going to take a pin, just like that. You don't have to use a pin. I just like to. All right, so that's where I'm going to place my button, right about there. Here's my button. Remember, yarn is stretchy, so go through several times because you're going to be using that a lot and you want that button to stay put. Now, one thing you can do, if you're going to use it on a tall type cup that does not have a handle, you can not do the tab and just sew the ends together and slide it up. That works good too on some of the bigger cups, but you can measure and see how it works. All right, so we have finished our cozy. We just added that button. Works right in our buttonhole. And there you have it. Our Chihuahua mug cozy. And here's the purple one. All ready to go.